Good morning, everybody. I am the Cynic. Recently, the banner of MGTOW has come under a bit of scrutiny thanks to the Armored Skeptic's video against both the Mayor of MGTOWN and SexyMGTOW. If you watch the video, Skeptic isn't attacking MGTOW as a whole, and even proclaims that he understands and sympathizes with us, almost becoming a man going his own way himself at one point. His criticism of both the Mayor and Sexy lies in the morals that both Sexy and the Mayor portray in their disillusion of the female sex, calling women not human and seeing women as good for nothing but pump and dump. I don't agree with Sexy's views nor the Mayor's in this regard, but I can understand where they are coming from. However, this video won't be about Skeptic, but partially in response to a user named Computing Forever, who also made a video about MGTOW and declared the ideology to be similar to that of feminism. He starts out his video well enough, explaining that gynocentrism in society, exploring the issues men face in early childhood through a female-oriented school system, to divorce, to child custody hearings, suicide rates, and so on and so forth. Then his first criticism of the Mayor of MGTOWN comes to light in that the Mayor doesn't list issues troubling men in the video in which Armored Skeptic is criticizing. This is a special hot button for me because I feel like in every single video I make, these issues need to be addressed in their entirety for this exact reason, which takes up a good 6 or 7 minutes to do so in a way that remains coherent while addressing common arguments. Now, if the Mayor didn't have a subscriber base who'd get sick and tired of hearing the same thing over and over and over again, this wouldn't be an issue. But to rehash these points in every single video would become irritating to viewers who already know what they are. So I find this particular criticism invalid based on the fact that the Mayor has spoken on these issues before in prior videos. Computing goes on to criticize the Mayor, calling women the enemy, another notion I don't agree with, but can understand, and the rest of MGTOW being too ideological in our beliefs, while simultaneously admitting to appealing and criticizing the lowest common denominator that any group portrays. He thinks much like Rocking Mystery and the Tradcons think, that feminism is the reason that women have opted out for a more feminized world, rather than it being female nature. That women's agency in the situation took a back seat, and they were just helpless little girls who were brainwashed by feminism to see men as disposable utilities and oppressors who needed to be fought against. He goes on about how MGTOW and feminism are the same, something I've already made a video on and addressed in his comments section, both in the statement's validity and its detriments. Something he says I am in partial agreement with is the continued rhetoric of the no true Scotsman fallacy, wherein there are some commenters who call the Mayor not a real MGTOW. While MGTOW doesn't advocate for the hatred of women, and I personally find wasting such energy and time on that hatred to be stupid at best, I would be hesitant to proclaim any man not going his own way because of his misogyny. The primary difference is that MGTOW doesn't claim to be about gender equality when it comes to feminism. Honestly, I have no idea what the fuck gender equality even means, as its definition continually changes in order to suit whichever agenda is being pushed at the time by the one using it. Men going their own way is about doing what's best for them, is about men doing what's best for themselves as individuals, not getting married, thereby putting themselves in subservient situations to women and rejecting gynocentrism. At least that's what it used to be about, but more on that later. Now, the primary issue I have with Computing is his continually calling MGTOW a movement. MGTOW isn't a movement. There is no central end goal for us to aspire to as a collective. Oh, yeah, sure, there are some indirect consequences that many of us look forward to, like watching society collapse under its own bloated weight, but that's not something we actively participate in nor strive for. And believe me when I say we are under no delusion that MGTOW will be the reason for society's fall. Oh, it'll be a contributing factor, but not the primary cause. But on the general whole, the direct consequences of our actions are for ourselves on an individual level, which was one of my main points of the banner, and why I don't consider myself a men's rights activist. We don't expect societal change. We find it a waste of time to do so, and would rather do for ourselves. The world doesn't give a fuck about us as individual men, so why should we give a fuck about them? Many will decry this notion self-defeating, but society is the one destroying itself, not us. All we're doing is preserving ourselves and seeing to our own better interests for the time we have left on this planet. The MGTOW banner may be abandoned at some point, but so long as men continue to study female nature, its effects on relationships between men, women, and the state, and actively and inactively avoid placing themselves in situations to be subservient to their nature, as well as the state who backs it, then the premise and concept of MGTOW will never die. I'm still skeptical about the introduction of MGTOW into the mainstream media, but in the end, it doesn't really matter how the media portrays us. Men, en masse, will eventually catch on to the way things are between the sexes, and how gynocentrism favors women, and begin asking themselves the same questions we have after they can no longer deny what's in front of them. Something Computer Forever doesn't seem to understand is that MGTOW isn't just about eternal bachelorhood. While that is an aspect, the more important thing is that men understand why it's better to be a bachelor and avoid placing ourselves in submission to women via state-sanctioned marriage. Avoiding marriage isn't a radical act anymore. Men who avoid marriage not out of fear of commitment, but because of rational thought and seeing the lack of necessity for its utility in the modern world, will only continue to grow from this point onward. Female nature in hypergamy is biologically driven. Feminists didn't create and manipulate women into embracing it. It just gave them the option to do so. An option women accepted with great vigor as the general rule. He cites the honey badgers as no waltz that contradict the intellectual honesty of MGTOW in believing that all women are hypergamous creatures. To which the obvious reply to that is the advocacy for men by Karen, Allison, and Hannah, who I do hold great respect for, doesn't mean their nature as women is any less in existence. It just means they are willing to fight it and advocate on behalf of the male sex. So, will all women take men to the cleaners and drain them for all their resources and state-sanctioned and enforced transfers of wealth? Speaking from an intellectually honest point of view, no. No, not every single woman in the world will do this. Now, will enough do this to the point where I'd consider it the general rule more than the exception? Yes, and that's the point. To expect and dictate views based on rules rather than exceptions. It's simple biological imperatives and the strive for genetic supremacy and resource accumulation. That's what the human animal is all about. That's what any species has always been about. And no matter how much we wish it wasn't the case due to our feelings and the consequences against us as men by society, the fact of the matter is that evolution, like society and like women as a whole, doesn't give an honest husky fuck about us as individual men. And so the banner of MGTOW was taken. Not a movement for social change like the men's rights activists, but a banner that like-minded men could come to and discuss the issues men as a gender have been encountering and questioning for years. Like it or not, evolution doesn't care about morality. Evolution is doing what works and sticking with it. And women manipulating and using men for provision and protection seems to me to make more sense as a mating strategy than anything else. So to make this video as clear as I fucking can, feminism isn't the enemy of MGTOW. Not really. If anything, feminism has just allowed women to expose their true nature and what they really are. Are there men who may hate them for it? Of course. Men were taught from a young age that women were the kinder and more loving sex, only to find out that biology and evolution contradict this assertion in reality, evidenced by the growing single mother rate and divorces primarily being initiated by women. When such a grandiose lie is exposed, a lie that men have had jammed down their throats for so long and wanted to believe with such fervor, it's foolish to think anyone wouldn't be spiteful. I know I was initially. But then I researched the reason for the lie and gave the matter a great deal of thought, concluding that, as bad as the lie is, there was a reason for it, and that reason was the continuance and enhancement of our species. Women aren't the enemy. I know. I'm probably going to get jeered for saying that, but women aren't the enemy. They are just biologically predisposed to hypergamy and sexual selection. Hating him for this is like hitting a lion for killing and devouring a gazelle. It's a pointless effort that does nothing but embitter and irritate. Women fighting this biological urge is a choice, yes, but them having it is not. And so long as there are men who are willing to critically analyze and control for this back by avoiding institutions like marriage and focusing instead on fulfillment and self-actualization, the concept of MGTOW will never die. We are not a movement with a central goal. We are just men who recognize the reality that society is built on our disposability as men, the protection of women, and the reasons therein, and do for ourselves in response. Western societies will not falter because of MGTOW. They will falter because of feminism, socialism, government spending, a culture of entitlement and victimhood, and its taking away from traditionalism. Traditionalism is what built this society into what it is, and I have no more love for the gynocentric nature of traditionalism than I do for the gynocentric nature of feminism. I am the Cynic, everybody. Have a nice day.